Since the earliest days of movie making, the genre of the Lost World and its prehistoric denizens is one that always seems to die out, only to be rediscovered once again. From B-movies and cult films to modern blockbusters, we are the Raiders of the Lost genre.
So, Dave, this is the inaugural episode of Raiders of the Lost genre.
What do they call a pilot episode?
Indeed. Although we have no one to sell it to except ourselves. Let's go ahead, and today we're going to be watching a little film called The Land Unknown.
The Land Unknown.
Yes.
Reminds me of Lost World.
A bit. It has that Lost World quality. That's one of the things that I like about this film. It is from 1957. It was originally intended as an A-list fantasy adventure film, and that is not where it ended up. It ended up as a B picture, not shot in color, but now black and white, with a B-list cast and a studio contract director. However, the good news is it's from Universal Pictures, so it does have some production values until you see the T-Rex. Then we kind of run into it getting a little pear-shaped.
You know, that's with all these old movies. I feel like if they had money at one point, you can see where it went.
Right. You can see where the money was going.
With stop motion, you can tell where the money, like to the frame, where it ran out.
Right.
You could say it ran out before it even started. In
Right.
this case, probably, right?
Yeah.
Because you're gonna look at that T-Rex and be like,
Yeah.
money? No.
You're gonna look at the set and you're gonna be like, this looks good, and then you're gonna see the T-Rex and you're gonna be like, ooh. So yeah, that's our picture today.
All right.
All right.
I've never seen this before, but I'm willing to try.
All right, let's give it a shot. This is The Land Unknown. Shall we, Dave?
Let's do it.
All right.
There.
The Land Unknown, a 1957 Universal Pictures Lost World monster movie, dinosaurs. It's kind of got it all. In the days when physical media video collecting was much easier to find in the wild, i.e. not just shopping on Amazon, but actually going into stores, I would spend a lot of time browsing the genre sections and looking at box art and back cover blurbs of movies, seen and unseen. To be fair, there's still a few stores I like to do this in. Illustrations and photos would either grab me or make me laugh. The latter was the case with The Land Unknown. One look at certain shots of the T-Rex featured in this flick will tell you why. Hence, it flew below my radar for several years more. That changed after Universal released a couple of classic sci-fi Ultimate Collection DVD sets that had some other movies that I was interested in, so I ended up giving Land Unknown a second chance.
Look how terrible this footage is.
Well,
we
at
are in
least
the movie.
The good news is that the helicopter matches the rest of the movie. So they at least keep using the same helicopter
Luckily for them.
type. I don't know if the numbers match.
Oh, we should have looked. This looks fake.
That would be because it's fake.
They weren't trying very hard.
Based on the supposed real instance of an Antarctic expedition finding unusually warm water where it ought not to be, this movie picks up with a crew of investigators taking a helicopter ride over the volcano situated somewhere on the continent.
Huh.
Yeah.
Why do, not for nothing, but it seems to me that Antarctica is almost worthless strategically, resource-wise, politically, every way possible.
Radar, man. Everybody had to set up new radar. The crew consists of 3 drab men and 1 stacked blonde who, with their combined might of B-list acting abilities, can't seem to keep the plot afloat, much less the airship. Over the smoke, they cruise a little too low and get hit midair by a pteranodon, or some other flying dinosaur. Sinking below sea level, our heroes realize that the crater is in fact the geological Lost World, heated by underground volcanic activity. They finally touch bottom and roll out into a steam bath of prehistoric trees, mountains, and monstrous life.
What was the point of that interaction?
So that you can pad out the movie with stock footage. 100% humidity seems to be more than the men can handle, and when they're not sweating through their undershirts or whining about fixing their ride, they're busy running like rabbits from dinosaurs and man-eating plants. On several occasions, though, the crew are saved by the worst set of bagpipes a guy could hope to ever make out of a conch shell. We're white, let's just start shooting shit.
Yeah, hey, we're Americans. We can kill whatever. And we're in the... What are those, alligators? This is wrong footage.
Turns out a survivor of the previous expedition has been stuck down in the crater for a decade and was only using his horn to scare off the monsters long enough to kidnap the only blonde in his claimed zip code. He takes her to his cave and rants a monologue before getting handsy and a bit abusive. Fortunately, the men show up to wave torches and then forgive the poor wretch for being a hairy, smelly former scientist who was just trying to get some for the first time since the 1940s. No harm, no foul. Eventually, the crew managed to fend off the T-Rex, a plesiosaur, and a very unpleasant sauna long enough to repair the helicopter and fly away. Honestly, it was pretty warm down there. It's enough to drive even a 1950s guy a bit batty. That's the take we're gonna go with?
Yes.
The girl, though, her hair's still perfect. The sets and certain production values have merit, I will admit. The dinosaurs and other creatures are a mix of live lizards, puppets, and a guy in a T-Rex suit with a primitive animatronic head. Once you're done taking a shower to wash off the feeling that you've just watched a monitor lizard snuff film, you'll be snorting your milk out through your nose at the sight of the most erect Tyrannosaurus in film history as he plods headlong into the helicopter blades. Granted, certain shots make it an effective screen monster, but when seen clearly, it's a pretty funny-looking critter. I've read that The Land Unknown started off as a big-budget, CinemaScope color production with an A-list cast and crew. At some point, this changed, and the film became a black-and-white breeze of B-list actors and a contract director. Virgil Vogel had edited some decent flicks, including noir classic Touch of Evil, and would later go on to direct a metric crap ton of assembly line primetime television up through the 1980s. But his efforts here rarely raised the material above the already chopped production values. The stakes are never raised, the dialogue never polished, and the under-budgeted monsters don't show up enough. Hell, even the volcano never bothers to blow its top.
It's negative 1,000,000 degrees outside. She's wearing an Old Navy hoodie.
For me, though, it's a rough gem lost among better movies of its type. It has a certain charm at times, and it's fun as background noise. If only it had a higher sense of suspense and adventure, and maybe just a little more money to pad it out in the right areas.
Come on! So, Dave, that was The Land Unknown.
Ooh, yeah. Okay, so lots of stuff going on there. It feels like a good idea that somebody had once, and then they lost all the funding for that idea.
Pretty much.
If it were a little campier, it'd be great, but since it's not, it's just sort of.
That's a good point. It's one of those movies that tries to take itself seriously because originally at one point it was going to be a big budget movie. So it's not camp enough. It was trying too hard to be great camp, and it's trying too hard to be a good film.
It sits too much in the middle.
Right.
Like when you think of your good bad or your good,
Right.
they swing really heavy left or right. It's like, okay, they're taking it seriously, and it feels like it should be serious. But then later, when you see the T-Rex costume, or when everybody...
It's those wide shots on the creatures that kill it. The close-ups are actually decent on some of the, like, T-Rex head and the plesiosaur head and stuff. It's like, that's kind of cool. And then you pull back and you see this lumbering plesiosaur prop and T-Rex standing perfectly erect.
There's a reason monsters stop in the dark.
Right. I also like what you were saying before about how this movie doesn't have any consequences. Everybody lives. Nothing happens. The volcano never goes off. Nobody gets eaten.
It's not even like there's no repercussions. There's no nothing.
Right.
When you think of an adventure, okay, it's an incident, drama, someone's going to be lost, the almost lost moment. There's never any almost lost moment in this movie.
Yeah.
If you'll remember, as they're escaping, you want the feeling of like fast dinosaur catching up and like we're running, instead of like the fat guy in a tuxedo, one size too small at a party trying to get that last hors d'oeuvre. Like nobody involved in this was like, this is going to be.
This is the one, man. This is the one that's going to put us over the top. This is the one that's going to make monster movies cool again. This is the movie that's going to make me a star.
Consequences and investment.
Yeah, none of it. But it is fun.
It's fun at times.
Right.
With most of these bad movies, you can go back and look and be like, oh man, you want to show someone that what the fuck moment. Like every good bad movie that I've ever watched, I say, sit down and at least watch this one scene. If I were to sit down and be like, watch this movie, I don't know if I could pick a scene and be like, so.
Well, if I was gonna be like, oh, you gotta see this 50s movie, because this is kind of rad for what almost happened, but it doesn't happen, so it's like, I would always just show like one of the T-Rex sequences, and it's like, that first shot is like, oh, that T-Rex mask is kind of cool, and then it pulls back and you see that like 70-foot tall thing.
Yeah, like a PVC pipe and like a gray hide.
Right.
But that's the thing, I can't bring myself to hate this movie.
Right.
It's so inoffensive.
That's a really good way of putting it.
It's inoffensive. It's not entertaining
Right.
to the max. It's not interesting. There's no heart-pounding action. The characters are blah.
Yeah.
It's just there.
Yep. Well, as Lost World pictures go, it's not the finest, but
But
like
it wasn't bad.
yeah. Like I've said before, I like it as background noise sometimes. So it's worth that.
Here's the
It's almost a B picture. I mean, it is a B picture, but I mean, it's almost a cult B picture. It's just
Yeah,
not quite
it's
there.
like C+.
Right.
One thing I will give it, because whoever was in charge of certain aspects of the cinematography,
Oh yeah.
flawless.
Yeah, it's
I
shocking.
feel like there were two cinematographers.
Yeah.
There was the guy who all the close tight shots are done perfectly,
Right.
and you get to see a lot of sweaty, like ripped biceps and stuff. You know, and for the 50s, you can't ask for more.
Right.
But then all the wide shots, it just felt like there was no artistry, there was no whatever. They just said, okay, here's our canvas. We'll be down here. The rest of the shit will be up here. Roll it.
It has all these moments where somebody in the editing room is trying to save it and make it even better than it is, and it's not working.
The editor worked his ass off.
He really did, and it didn't save it, but
But
you
he
know,
tried.
yeah.
You can see where people. There were a few people in here who actually cared.
wasn't the actors.
From my point of view, all 50s actors, all are sort of that fast talking, like no nonsense kind of bullshit.
Right.
So I'm giving it a pass on that kind of stuff because, let's be real, you know, a giant dinosaur or a giant grasshopper or whatever comes, you're gonna freak out. You're not gonna be like Peter Graves all the time,
It's
being
true.
like, yeah, well, I'm a scientist, and we've got to check this out. You're a woman, and those are fantastic breasts, but we're on a military base, and there's no time for fooling around, man.
Right.
So, whatever, I get that. That's 50s.
It's an inoffensive film, but fun.
What's the name again?
Yeah.
Return to the Lost World? Land of the Lost World?
It is The Land Unknown.
The Land Unknown.
Is apparently the title unknown.
But that's the thing, it's a 5. I can't remember a 5.
It's a great poster.
Thank you.